Training Video 1, How to Teach a Grammar Unit. Thank you for coming to Co-op and being willing to teach a grammar unit. To teach a grammar unit, first you need to spend some time with the Lord, to pray and to ask the Lord to equip you and to bless you with the gifts that you're going to be sharing with each one of us. Thank you for being willing to do this, and we welcome you aboard and are excited for your adventure laying ahead of you. Next, you want to have in your mind what it means to teach a grammar unit, or what it means to be grammar. And when you're in grammar, that's the parrot stage. That is going to be the memorizing of facts, the memorizing and regurgitating of events, key events, and dates, and scientific discoveries, and etc. When you are teaching a grammar unit, your goal is to just basically teach the grammar to the students, as well as come alongside the moms and help them in teaching it at home as well. So the next, what you want to do is make sure that you have read the pages in the Well-Trained Mind on teaching grammar. What does it mean to be a grammar teacher? And those are pages 123 to 198 in the Well-Trained Mind book. If you get to that section, you can just breeze through it and get to the sections that are going to relate to you as in teaching history, or you if you are going to be a science teacher. But the basic overall idea of grammar is the same. Next are your responsibilities as a grammar teacher. You are responsible for creating a grammar packet, and we're going to discuss that a little bit more in just a minute. You also are going to be coming up with one main fact for each day that you're teaching. The one main fact you want the child to take away from the day. And with that, at the end, after one fact per day, we'll create 10 facts. And those 10 facts you're going to give Elise, and Elise will be making your sound off for you. And those 10 facts, or the one fact for each day, are what you're going to be using as your main idea and emphasis that you are going to be instilling into the children and wanting them to walk away with. So first, you want to make sure that you have gathered your information. And Barb already spoke a bit about that. You want to make sure that you read the Story of the World. If you're doing science, this Usborne Science or the Kingfisher Science relating to your topics. You want to also go to the library and get some more simple information about the subject that you're going to be teaching and do a little bit more research. You just want to be as equipped as the students that are going to be coming in, maybe just a little bit more. If you're teaching grammar, you want to maybe know as much as a logic person needs to know, so you can answer all the questions that a 5-year-old will have, or an 8-year-old. And then after you've gathered your grammar, it's going to be fresh in your mind. And when it's fresh in your mind is when you want to sit down and come up with those facts. Also, while you are reading, make sure you're collecting ideas, hands-on ideas, creative ideas, and just be noting those with each week that you're going to be teaching, so you'll be able to draw back on those as you begin your planning. So at this point, you're ready to start your grammar packet. So your grammar packet, you will receive, there are online copies of this. Here's the history one, and here is a copy of the science one. They're very similar, and on the grammar packet, there are different things. First is you have to say what the week is that you're going to be teaching, which is pretty straightforward. That's in the scope and sequence. What the topic is you're going to be covering, and that as well as in your scope and sequence. The next section in the history one, as well as the science one, is your literature. Your literature book will be determined by another woman in the co-op, and she will also be breaking it down into how many chapters they are to read each week. With that book, you need to have read the book so you're aware of what the students will be reading, as well as be doing you can do it weekly if you believe it pertains weekly, or at the end of 5 weeks, or when the book is to be done, you can be leading a discussion using the story charting in your classroom. Next, the reading and the outlining. As you know, in the scope and sequence, it says what the story of the world we're going to be reading, and in the science one, it will be saying what the Usborne science is that you're to be reading. And that is the reading we're going to be doing. And as the students are older, probably not beginning grammar, but in grammar, advanced grammar, they'll start maybe outlining what they've read. There also are some additional resources that they'll be reading or you will find pages for, and that is the Usborne history. And in the history one, you will be also putting the pages that pertain to what we are studying that day, and those are optional for the families to read. That would be your reading and outline. The next is your Veritas press cards. And on the Veritas press cards, it's pretty obvious which Veritas press card relates to which week we are teaching. So you just list those in this section. So far we have our literature we're reading, then the reading and outlining, and then Veritas press cards. The maps are pretty straightforward in that the maps are going to be what are in the workbook, excuse me. The workbook for the Welch, the story of the world. And that is also a resource that everybody has to purchase. And so it's pretty easy for you to place on here what maps you want them to be mapping at home. The next is memory work. The one significant memory work that we have in our co-op is the sound off. Elise will be creating the sound off, and each for one for history and one for science. Every day you will go over that sound off during your class period with the students, as well as they'll be doing it at home. And these are the 10 key facts for history and the 10 key facts for science that we want to make sure that they have grasped and memorized in the grammar stage for this unit. The other memory work you might add is maybe a Bible verse or something that pertains to the area that you are going to do. The other thing is timeline. Timeline is just great men or anybody or any event you believe are important for the students to know and come to class being prepared, knowing about. So key events or key people that you'll be discussing should come under timeline, and you'll just place those. Those will actually be in the workbook. Again, under the workbook pages at the end of chapters, there are 4 to 6 timeline pieces that you can add, as well as if you have other significant ones you want them to know, you can just have them Google those people online and they can cut them and put them on their timeline at home. But you'll be timelining in your classroom as well. Vocabulary words are words that you want them to know when they come to class. Now, these vocabulary words are not events or people, but they're actually physical words that you need them to know in order to understand what you're discussing in class. For the BG, we only usually have about 2 and max 4, and for AG, 4 to about 6 words. And then the great men and women are the key people that you want them to know during that time. BG, again, we only want 1 to 2 people. And then AG, we only want 2 to 4 people. No more than 4. It gets to be too much of them memorizing, and then after 10 weeks, it's just too much in their heads that they won't take on till when we do it again in 4 years. The last item on your parent packet is your presentations. Each unit will require that each student does at least 1 presentation, 1 for history and 1 for science. So there'll be different packets, but you will say who's doing the presentation, and you as the teacher get to determine what you want them to be presenting. They can present ideas, they can present events, they can present people, and even in science, some people have had them do experiments or short little demonstrations to show to the class. This way, they take ownership, and they get from the age of 5, they get to start standing in front of people and presenting and getting comfortable presenting idea. And this gives them one person or one event that they're doing a little bit more study on, and they're able to do this. Now, this might seem a little overwhelming. However, we have been collecting packets for in the other co-ops for quite a while now. And so we have 4 years ago and 8 years ago packets that you can look to for ideas. Now they're done in 6 weeks where they teach a morning and afternoon. However, you'll be able to look at that and there'll be 12 lessons total. You can pull information from those and use those as guidelines, which should make it a little bit easier. The next thing, after you have your packet together, and in grammar, you'll be creating this packet with the beginning grammar and the advanced grammar. So you have two of you, you'll be working together and kind of coming up with what you believe are the important parts. The easiest thing I would recommend to do is separate the coming up of the reading, the VP cards, the maps, separate that up between the two of you. And BG, you'll come up with the first 3 vocab words and the first 2 great men and women. And then AG, you can look over and then add to what you believe you need more on. It's definitely teamwork. The more you do together, the easier it makes it. So I think teaching in grammar is a great opportunity to learn to work together and help each other, whereas logic, there's just that one person working by themselves. So this will be really fun to do. Now, the next thing, after you have your packet together, you're going to want to start working on your daily planning sheets. These are sheets that are you'll photocopy these. You'll have access of all these handouts. They will be up on the website, so you'll be able to download these. You'll just say you can photocopy 10 of